McGarry of the Press Atlantic City. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Sully, how are you this morning?
Now, you bringing your North Jersey accent or your Philly accent? What do you got for us today?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both.
A little mishmash.
Yeah, a little mishmash. A much calmer. I was just talking with Cole off the air. Much calmer trip to Holy Spirit last night. No issues. Right down the Parkway, in the parking lot, and straight home. So a much calmer last Friday night for me than the one previously, than last week's adventure out to Shalleck.
Mike, I don't know if you know this, but every once in a while you got to put some oil in the car.
Yeah, I've heard that helps.
So, Mike, pretty interesting game last night between Holy Spirit and Pleasantville. Before we get into that, I want to get your thoughts on what the Pleasantville captains did at the coin toss, coming out there with Walshy's Warriors T-shirts over their uniform jerseys, and what a classy move. And then they kind of go over to the Holy Spirit sideline, give him a quick hug and a handshake, and you could tell that, man, that really meant a lot to Bill Walsh.
Yeah, I just thought it was a tremendous, it was really the start of a tremendous night. And when Pleasantville did that, it really kind of reminds you what high school sports is all about. Of course, Pleasantville and Holy Spirit are located a mile and a half from each other, down Route 9. And there's connections between the school. Chris Mancuso, a Pleasantville assistant coach, played for Walsh on that 2007 Holy Spirit team. That's one of the best teams in Cape Atlantic history. Mancuso was a captain of that team, linebacker, running back. That team went 12-0, won the state Group 3 title, beat Immaculata in the title game. Immaculata had Theo Reddick of the Detroit Lions, played for that Immaculata team. So that Spirit team, one of the best teams in Cape Atlantic League history. And really, for Pleasantville to go out there, and it's really kind of, St. Joe did the same thing, when they went to Holy Spirit, their captains went over and shook Bill Walsh's hand. Obviously he's battling ALS right now. And it's really good to see the entire, high school football community come together in support of him and what he's going through right now.
Yeah, it really shows a lot about the Pleasantville program and what they're trying to build there. They're trying to get these kids to understand everything that goes along with high school football and what certain things mean, not only just X's and O's, but everything, how to carry yourself and how to be a high school football player. There's always eyes on you when you're a high school football player. They get a lot more fans than any other sport. So good job by that coaching staff of really showing these kids, hey, this is a thing we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of, I felt even though they lost the game and they lost the lead, they were up 24-12 in the third quarter. They were up 24-20 at the start of the fourth quarter. I felt so good for, Pleasantville and the Pleasantville program and the work that Chris Sacco and his assistants have done over there. I remember looking over at the Pleasantville sideline, kind of midway through the quarter and just seeing a huge crowd of people over there. And, Pleasantville really played a great game. They played a crisp game. Samir Jones at quarterback was outstanding. Muhammad Torre at linebacker and fullback was great. Elijah Glover caught 2 touchdown passes. I mean, Pleasantville just really, I thought Elijah Gray, the Holy Spirit running back who ran for 227 yards and 3 touchdowns, I kind of asked him, well, what did you think of Pleasantville tonight? And he just said, they're hard. They just came out with hard. And I really think that just summed up the way both teams played last night. I just thought it was a great, great high school football game. Yeah,
that's definitely one of those games where, if you're not going to bring the intensity, man, you better just get on the bench because you're going to get run over.
Yeah, it was just tremendously well played, and obviously it comes down to, Holy Spirit, which, Josh Zamat said in the story that's on our website today, pressofac.com, and in the paper, punt is not in our vocabulary. It's 24-20. Holy Spirit has it 4th and 9 at their own 26-yard line. I would venture to say that 99.9% of the high school football teams in America would have punted. Holy Spirit, I was standing on their sidelines a few feet from offensive coordinator Charlie Roman, and they never even thought about punting. And Zamat throws an 18-yard out pattern to Lee Dawson, who catches it. And 5 plays later, Elijah Gray scores a touchdown, and Holy Spirit's up 28-24, and they really carried the day from there. So, just a tremendous decision by Holy Spirit, and just a tremendous game right there, and an unconventional strategy pays off.
That was an incredible throw too, Mike. I mean, that's a next level college type throw. It might have only been a 15 to 18 yard out, but he had to throw that ball about 30 yards in the air and threw an absolute laser. Initially seeing it, I was like, oh, that's going to be 2 feet over Lee Dawson's head, and he makes a tremendous leaping catch, gets his feet down in bounds. I mean, that's a next level play right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Josh is throwing the ball across the field at that point, like you said, 30, 40 yards, and they had Lee Dawson out there in man coverage, and he got open, and Zamat hit him. And really a big-time play, because if Pleasantville stops them there, they've got the ball on the Holy Spirit 26-yard line, up 24-20. If they score there, they go up 2 scores with, 9 minutes to go in the game. So, the game really came down to that one play. It was funny. I was leaving Holy Spirit late night after I filed my story, walking out of the cafeteria, and I saw head coach A.J. Russo, and I just said, A.J., punt, and he goes, never. He looks at me and says, never. So, Holy Spirit doesn't like to punt, and sometimes people wonder kind of what they're doing, but in that case, it really paid off for them.
Yeah, and you talk about this Pleasantville team, man, that Mohamed Toure kid, he's a man. I mean, this kid, he's a big dude, and, had that 35-yard touchdown run. He's kicking extra points. He's playing middle linebacker, and what a guy to really inspire that team.
Yeah, only a junior, and Pleasantville coach Chris Sacco said Torrey is already beginning to get a lot of attention from colleges starting to come in on him. And, I really thought it was a great night for Pleasantville. Even though Holy Spirit won the football game, I thought Pleasantville won in a way, too. Obviously, they were disappointed after the game that they didn't win, but anybody who went to Holy Spirit last night wondering, hey, I know Pleasantville's 3-0, but, are they for real? What's the quality of their schedule and stuff like that? Nobody left Holy Spirit thinking last night that Pleasantville wasn't for real and isn't a football program on the rise. It's probably, I was thinking back, it might have been the best game that Pleasantville has played since, they upset Hamilton in the first round of the 2002 playoffs, 6-3, and Chris Sacco, the Pleasantville coach, was a player on that Hamilton team.
Yep.
So, it might have been the most eye-opening, maybe not the best game is the way to describe it, but maybe the most eye-opening game Pleasantville has played since that upset of Hamilton in 2002. So really, probably there were a lot of doubters about Pleasantville before last night's kickoff, but after the game ended, anybody who was there has no doubts that, Pleasantville is back football-wise, and it's definitely a program to watch the rest of the season and the coming years, because there's a lot of juniors on that team. Samir Jones, the quarterback, is a junior. Mohamed Toure is a junior. So, the future bodes well for the Greyhounds.
And, Mike, another team that I've been high on since the beginning of the season, Ocean City. They're 3-1 now. They went on the road, beat Absegami 27-14, and really could be 4-0. They had Cedar Creek on the ropes. They had a halftime lead against Cedar Creek on the road. This is a very interesting team. They lost Andrew Donahue, obviously, who went to the college in New Jersey, 4-year starting quarterback. But Harry Feifel has really filled in and added a new dynamic to that team. He can do a lot of things. He's not going to be as prolific a passer as Donahue was by any stretch of the imagination, but really running the ball well. They got 3 backs. You're talking about Isaac Robertson and Liam Bergman, and they're just a really tough team to stop.
Yeah, and you kind of hit it there going into the season. We were kind of worrying about, or kind of thinking about how good will Ocean City be, because Donahue, who had a great career, outstanding athlete, and then graduated and went to the College of New Jersey to play quarterback there. We're kind of wondering how good Ocean City would be this year. And the answer is pretty good. We forget that sometimes they brought back everybody else, except for Donnie, and they're off to, obviously one of their best starts in recent years. Now they've got big games coming up with they're at Middle Township next week. They've got Mainland Regional, always a big rivalry the week after that, and they're 3-1 and kind of in position to think about the South Jersey Group 3 playoffs, which they haven't been in a long time. So, and they're kind of a team that's got to keep winning. They've got to keep winning games every week because the type of teams they're playing. PowerPoint-wise, they probably can't afford too many slip-ups here the rest of the way. They've got to probably be 6-2 at the cutoff date to get in the South Jersey Group 3 playoffs. So, but a big step last night by beating that Absegami team. And Feiffel's really gone in there and done a great job, great athlete and able to, make plays with his arm and his legs and kind of spark Ocean City. So there's another revival. And I kind of talked with the press of Atlantic City Sports Editor last night, Mark Melhorn, after all the action kind of settled down. We were talking about the games, and he made a great point. I mean, that Ocean City Pleasantville Thanksgiving Day game, get your ticket for that one.
Right.
Because that's going to be one of the marquee matchups this week, this year on Thanksgiving. That's obviously a game that's shaping up to be really one of the better games that day.
And Feifel, possibly the best hair in South Jersey.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I know you're a guy who always notices people's hair. So,
I do because I missed the locks I had in the early '90s.
Right. So that's a good point by you right there.
Mike, looking ahead to next week, huge test for St. Augustine, which we normally wouldn't say that in early October, but they're going to take on Holy Spirit, a team they really rolled over last year. So I know Holy Spirit's a little salty about that one. So this could be a really important matchup for St. Augustine, who's 3-2 right now.
Well, that's a huge game out there at St. Augustine next Friday night, and it's a game that there's a lot going on in that football game. You have St. Augustine at 3-2, battling for a spot in the state non-public 4 playoffs. Coming off a big sort of dominating performance over Bridgeton last night. You've got Holy Spirit at 4-1, coming off back-to-back dramatic comeback wins over Delsea last week and Pleasantville last night, and then you've got all the other intrigue and drama that goes with the game. Josh Zamat, the quarterback of Holy Spirit, obviously played at St. Augustine, spent his first 3 years at St. Augustine. Charlie Roman, a Holy Spirit assistant coach, offensive coordinator, obviously, and a coach at St. Augustine the past 4 or 5 years. So there's a lot going on next Friday night at St. Augustine, 6 p.m. kickoff, and it should be an outstanding football game. But there's a lot of layers to that football game, as they say.
And you got 2 head coaches who have about 60-plus years combined of coaching experience.
Yeah, it's Pete Lancetta going in there and taking over, and it's a St. Augustine team that's 3-2, lost to Malvern Prep to open the season, loses a heartbreaker to Millville, a couple of weeks ago, then has the off week, bounces back last night against Bridgeton, and it should be a lot of power points on the field, and it's a lot of outstanding athletes and a lot of subtext to that football game too. So that might be the place to be next Friday night, out at St. Augustine when Holy Spirit travels out there.
There's going to be some movers and shakers in that prep VIP tent for sure.
Well, least among them or best among them will be Willie Morris, who PA announcer out there at St. Augustine. Who
he's the best.
Great job. And treats the press great by keeping that press box open until we're done. So we always appreciate that.
Mike, if you're gonna try to beat him with a trivia question, you better dig deep, man. He's like Stump the Schwab. He knows everything.
Yeah. Well, he's that's the other great thing about high school sports is there's people around the game. I've known Willie since he was a St. Augustine student. He used to come out in the Hermit's costume and run around the court, leading the St. Augustine basketball team. And now he's a PA guy, a stat guy for the team, and And, I don't know if there's anybody who loves St. Augustine more than him. So, he'll be out there and ready to go, helping us out with stats and everything else and running the press box. So, that makes it even more enjoyable and takes a little stress out of the event for your local reporters.
Good stuff, as always, Mike. We appreciate it. We got to get to Minnick. He's always giving me a hard time about getting to him late. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, buddy.
I will. You too. Thanks for having me on for a few minutes. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. That was Mike McGarry, the press for Atlantic City. We're going to